So I want to tell you about this PRS because not too long ago, one of my buddies was working at this guitar factory and he told me that one of his coworkers had actually gotten him a gift. And I was like, what did he get you? Did he throw you like a pizza party in the break room? He goes, no. He gave me a guitar. I'm sitting there and my facial expression starts to change. He got you a what? And he's like, yeah, he got me a guitar. Like, what kind of guitar? Like a commemorative Squire? No, a Silver Sky, like a Silver Sky SE, like the new one. I was like, he got you a what? Because if that's actually the case, I'm gonna need to see this bad boy ASAP. So we go over to his house and we're just hanging out and I'm like, real talk, bro, can I just play this thing for a second? He's like, of course, sure. So I walk over to get the guitar in the corner and I pick it up and I'm like, this might be a really big ask, but can I take this thing off your hands for a couple of days? And very graciously, he was like, yeah, that's not a problem. So I drive this thing back to my house and I start getting like the classic setup going, the Silver Sky into the Tube Screamer. And over the next couple days, I start to get to know it. Not only do I play it, I'm making videos with it. I'm really checking out the tones. And as I'm doing that, I come to this very particular conclusion. And months later, as I got my own Silver Sky and began to play it on a regular basis, I noticed that I came to that exact same thing. That conclusion being that this, the Silver Sky, is a PRS, but it's also kind of not. It's absolutely nothing like any of the other PRS guitars that I had played before. It didn't have humbuckers, it didn't have a coil split. Even some of the smaller elements like the pots were completely different and very obviously inspired by the Strat. This was very clearly a John Mayer signature Strat, and as far as I was aware at the time, the closest thing that Paul had ever made to like a vintage style Strat. And for the next year or so, whenever I would think about like Strat style PRSs, that would immediately be where my mind went. That was until one random day around June when I was scrolling through YouTube and I found this video that popped up and it seemed to have something to do with like a new PRS. But what could this actually be like? Is this some sort of modified McCarty, or maybe they have a new amp that they're releasing? But as I looked more closely, I saw that it was a guitar, and not just any guitar. It had all of the makings of a Strat, the double cut body shape, the 3 pickups, the 5-way. And as I started to look more and more into the details, it hit me. All of a sudden, I remembered this was a guitar that I had seen before. More than 5 years earlier, I had actually done a little bit of research on it. Because back in the day, like around the time the first pictures of the Silver Sky had released, I wanted to find out if that was really the first ever S-style guitar that PRS had ever made. And I ended up finding out about a guitar called the NF3. This wasn't just any NF3, this was the NF3 SE. And looking at it was kind of like a trip because, like I said before, it had all of the bells and whistles that I was used to from a regular Strat, but some of the things were just a little bit different. It had these black pickups with these white lines in between them that kind of looked like humbuckers. And then also the pots, they were way more like the ones that I would expect from the usual PRSs. So of course the big question came to my mind, like, what would this actually be like in person in comparison to a Silver Sky? It wasn't until a month later that I got to answer that question for myself. So it gets here and I start playing these two guitars back to back, and not only am I playing, but like I'm really listening to what their differences are both tonally and feel-wise, and I begin to get a much more accurate depiction on what the NF3 is actually supposed to be. Like these two guitars that were so clearly inspired by the Strat, but in such different ways. But now, after having had this thing for almost a year, I think I have an even better understanding of what I actually think this thing is. So I want to show you. So I've been playing this thing a lot more recently, and this weekend I just slapped some new strings on there. So let's see what's what. So, ladies and gentle penguins, this is my NF3 SE. It's actually kind of sad because I got it right around the time I completely stopped doing anything live when it comes to guitar. So unlike some of my other SEs like the DGT, this has never actually left my living quarters. Now, like we were saying before, obviously, there's a lot of similarities visually when it comes to the Silver Sky. The necks all look the same, the headstocks all look the same, but the things that really got me were the tuners and the pots. Now, the pickups, sound-wise, obviously, are a whole different story. So we're gonna be going with the Royer into the Supro because it has a lot more headroom than some of the smaller amps that I've been using, and I really like the way that it breaks up, especially once you get to the bridge pickup, but we'll get there in a second. So these are narrow field pickups, and when I first picked up the guitar, I was really excited because I thought that I recognized them from having played the NF53. But after doing just a little bit of mental digging, I remembered that I had actually seen these pickups before, and my history with them went back almost 10 years to when I first played my friend's Super Eagle. And what I didn't realize is that that's the same thing for pretty much any higher end PRS that has 3 pickups, but the difference between those and this is that this has 3 narrow fields. Now, what these are humbuckers that are designed to sound like single coils, and from the moment I picked it up, you can tell that it's a Strat, but just a little bit different. Even in A-Bing this thing with Strat style guitars outside of the Silver Sky, I could tell there was a difference in pretty much every position, or at least the positions that I use, like the 4. And the 1. Now, I'm not usually the guy who utilizes all of the positions on the Strat. I usually stick to 1, 4, and 5, but I've been trying to open myself up more recently to the middle positions, especially 3 and 4, just so I can try and experiment with that more Knopfler thing. Now, the tone is really just the first thing that I was noticing, especially when comparing this to the Silver Sky and the other Strats. When it came to the general playability and the feel, that took a little bit longer, but the more that I played it, the more that it began to stick out just as much. Because the neck is just a little bit flatter than the SE Silver Sky and way flatter than the regular Silver Sky, which in my mind adds to just how much more of a contemporary take this is. It's 10 inches, which isn't too crazy when compared to the 7.5, but that can make all the difference to a lot of players. And the neck isn't the only non-tonal thing that reminds me consistently that this isn't a Silver Sky. It's also where they put the output jack and the fact that the tuners are like the regular PRSs. I mean, this guitar just screams PRS so much, I'm surprised I don't forget more often that there isn't a coil split. But at the end of the day, what did we learn? I think most importantly, it's to say this. When I first took this thing out of the box this year, I spent a majority of the time comparing it to the Silver Sky and basically coming to the main conclusion that that is the John Mayer signature thing. That is a guitar specifically made like a vintage Strat, and this is more of Paul's take and more of the PRS fashion. And while I still do think that's true, I think I have a much clearer understanding of what this guitar does for PRS, because I would say if anyone is going to buy a Silver Sky, or if anyone is looking to buy a Silver Sky, I would say it might be worth giving something like an NF3 SE a play before making the decision. And it makes me really think and really question what's the future for like some of these PRS guitars, because you have to think in the future they're going to be trying an NF3 S2, and that begs the question, could that compete in the same way that this does with the SE Silver Sky with the signature Silver Sky? And what upgrades specifically would they have to do to get there? Because obviously they're not going to have the SE pickups in there and the SE on the headstock. Would they do anything different with the neck? It's going to be really interesting to see what comes in the next couple of years. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters what I think. What matters is what you think. So please let me know Have you played one of the NF3 SEs? Did you ever play one of the NF3s from the olden days? What did you think about it? Please let me know in the comments. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. This is definitely a guitar that I've been thinking about more and more recently, especially since I pulled out the Silver Sky and decided to restring this thing as well. It really saddens me that I never actually got to play it live, but who knows, maybe somewhere in the distant future I decide to play live gigs again and I'll finally get to see the true capabilities of what this thing can do. But if you want to know anything more about the NF3 SE, the links are in the description. Make sure to check it out. It's one of the best ways to support the channel if that's something you want to do, or if you're just curious about any of the other gear that I use in this video, the amps, the pedals, even the camera, the links are all in the description. A special thank you to all of my patrons. There's some extra exclusive content on there if you want to join the community. Like and subscribe if you had a good time, most importantly, most important of all. Have a really fantastic night.